Hi everyone, my name is Naresh Kumar Reddy. I'm a faculty from CSE department. I'm an assistant professor. Today we are going to discuss a topic on Java programming, JVM, right? JVM means Java Virtual Machine. Before going to what is JVM, we need to know when Java was introduced and who have invented that. Java programming language was invented by James Gosling and his team, right? And because of JVM only, your Java programming language have become platform independent. Reason how and why, right? We'll see the architecture in detail. When we go in details, see, there are things that you need to understand. See, there is something called class loader subsystem, memory area, and execution engine, right? Coming to class loader subsystem, things that are divided into, right? Loader, loading phase, linking phase, and initialization phase. Coming to loading phase, three things that will be there in loading phase: bootstrap class loader, extension class loader, application class loader. Whenever after writing a program, what we will do is we'll compile it, right? And how do you run it is using Java interpreter will run it. Java space your file name, that means your .class file name. So then your application class loader will load your program so that it can use the bootstrap class loader and it can start doing the loading phase. See, and coming to the linking phase. In linking phase, first one will be preparation. So in prepare phase, whether your program is genuine or not, all these things are verified. And in verification phase, like whatever your static content that are there, they will be allocated with the default values. And initialization phase, whatever static variables that are assigned with memory, those values, whatever program values that are there, those values will be assigned with. Coming to your memory area, there will be memory area is divided into class area, heap area, stack area, and PC register, native method, stack. See, coming to class area, whatever local methods and whatever data that is there, in this area, these things will be allocated with. Coming to heap area, whatever objects that you are going to create, for objects, memory is allocated in heap area, right? And coming to the most important phase in your JVM architecture is execution engine. Under execution engine, again, there is one more compiler called JIT compiler, by which your Java programming language is becoming platform independent, right? And coming to, and the next topic is constructors in Java. What is a constructor? Constructor is one type of special method where the name of the constructor is same name as class name. And why do we use a constructor? To initialize values into an object, we use something called a constructor. Basically, here we are going to see and rules that we need to follow whenever you are defining a constructor. Whatever class name that is there with the same name, we need to declare a constructor. And a constructor must never have any return type. We'll never declare with any return type for a constructor. And a constructor, we can never declare with static, final, or synchronized. And coming to types of constructors, here there are two things that we need to see: a default constructor and a parameterized constructor. And coming to a default constructor, the syntax of default constructor is, suppose if I am declaring a class with the name bike1, and below this here we are writing the constructor that I am declaring with. So in normal case, how do you write a method? We will go with return type, with or without return type, name of a method, then we'll open a brace and whatever code that you want to write, we'll write it in such a format. But how do you constructor is, whatever class name that you are declaring with the same name, you need to declare a constructor. Then only it is called as a constructor. And next, see, observe this, we are declaring bike1 as a constructor over here. Then in the main function, you are declaring you are creating an object. So indirectly, you are invoking the constructor. Whenever if you are creating an object, you are indirectly invoking a constructor to run. So next, Java, a parameterized constructor. Here before this, there are no parameters that you have seen. See, observe this, here there is no parameter inside. Then a parameterized constructor, where we will go with parameters in your constructor itself. Like how are you going to declare? Observe this, what is the name of the class? Class name over here is rectangle. And below that, here we have written a constructor with two parameters, right? Length and breadth for a rectangle that you want to calculate for an area, right? See, how are you going to declare? So your class name, You can open a bracket, then you will declare how many parameters you want, that many parameters. Then after that, you will close the bracket. Then you can open a brace and start writing your logic for a constructor. And here, how is it written? See, here we have three variables: int area, length, breadth, that are class level variables, and we have a constructor which is having two parameters, int L, comma, int B. So then whatever value that is there with L, I am storing it in length. Whatever value that is there in B, I am storing with breadth B. Then I am calculating the area by calling the getArea method. In this, how are we calculating? Area is equals to length into breadth, and then I am printing the value over here. The next case, here we are declaring the class which is containing main function. Without a main function, a Java program will never run. So from here, the execution starts, and you are creating an object of rectangle class, RS, is equals to new rectangle. And whatever 10, 20 value that you are giving it from here, this will be passed to the constructor. So L value is 10 and B value is 20. So that again, using the object reference, what are we doing? We are calculating the area. So 10 value is stored in this L, and 20 value is stored in this B. So whenever if you are calculating 10 into 20, and whatever value that you will be getting will be stored in this area, and you are trying to print the value. Is it clear? Then there is one more thing, overloading. There is something called overloading. It is nothing but static polymorphism. So we can overload a constructor. But thing is, with a different number of parameters only, we can overload a constructor. If you are going with the same number of parameters with that too, the same data type, then it is becoming overriding, where constructor overriding is not allowed in Java programming language. And here is an example of how do you use a constructors, like difference between a constructor and a method. What is a constructor? A constructor is a special type of method where the name of the constructor is same name as class name. But when you are going with a method, we can go with any name for a method, right? But method do have a return type, but constructor will never have a return type with, right? And method and constructor is invoked by just implicitly. By just creating an object, constructor is invoked, but a method should be manually called. Explicitly, that should be invoked. And Java compiler provides a default constructor. Whenever you are writing a program, if you are not mentioning any constructor, after compilation, your Java compiler will give a default constructor, right? And for a method, that is not possible. Whatever you do right, for that only will be getting our methods. And coming to inheritance, what is the meaning of inheritance? Acquiring the properties from a base class to a derived class. What is that? Acquiring the properties from a base class to a derived class is nothing but inheritance. And what is the advantage of using inheritance? Code reusability. For reusing the code, we use something called inheritance. And coming to terms that we'll be using for a inheritance is class. See, your base class, your derived class, or you can call it as a parent class or a child class. And the parent class can also be mentioned with superclass reference. Right? Here is an example of how do you, here is a syntax, how do we declare and inherit a class. So here we are writing with a derived class, where by using extends keyword, we'll inherit a base class. So that whatever properties that base class do have, all these properties are available to your child class reference. Then coming to types of inheritance, in Java, single inheritance is available, multi-level inheritance is possible, and hierarchical inheritance is also possible. But the multiple, there is one more type of inheritance called multiple inheritance, where Java programming language does not support multiple inheritance up to class level. So this is what an example. See, observe this, where you are going with a single inheritance, right? Class A inherits class B. Coming to this multi-level, class A inherits class B inherits. See, this is how the inheritance is available, right? Here, see, B is a child class to class A. Here, C is a child class to class B, B is a child class to class A. Coming to this is where, this is what I have said just now, that multiple inheritance is not supported by Java programming language, right? Where we have one child class or one derived class, two base classes. So which is not, which we can never run in, which we cannot achieve it in Java programming language up to class level. There is a concept called interfaces, by using which we can achieve multiple inheritance. And coming to single inheritance, this is an example code for single inheritance. Here animal is a base class where it is having a method called eat. And what is the content that you have written in eat? Something called, I want to print something called eating. Then you are extending, then you are using inheritance property, and where I am applying single inheritance over here. Class dog extends animal. This how will implement single inheritance, right? Then I am going with one more extra method called bark. I can add a number of methods in my child class additional to whatever parent class methods that are there. So observe this, below we have created an object of class D. Then I am calling d.bark as well as d.eat. So what is the output that will be coming? d.bark will be calling from here, the execution will move from here to here, then it executes, barking gets printed. Then again in the next case, again the control return back to the class. So again you are calling next method by using the object reference. So this time this is going to call the parent class method. So d.eat, you will call the eat method that is written in your parent class. So eating gets printed. So coming to multi-level inheritance. So here animal is a base class, and coming to the derived class that is there, dog, and one more derived class that is there is baby dog, right? Observe this, whatever eat method that is there, you have one more method called bark in your dog class, one more method called weep in your the child class, that means your grandchild class. So whenever you are trying to access the class, then you need to create an object of baby dog. Using the baby dog class, we can call weep method that is there in your child class. The base class, that means subclass to that, the superclass to baby dog class is dog class. So I am calling bark method, and this is the overall, the above the first class from which your dog class is inherited. So I can call d.eat method. So then the next concept, that is method overloading. See how we have overloaded a constructor. Similarly, we can overload any number of methods. There is no limit for overloading. If you want, you can write 1, 2 or n number of overloaded methods. Then different ways to overload a method, right? You can change the number of arguments in a method or changing the data type that you are going to write with. So here is an example with. So here I am going to write a method with the name add. But here how many parameters are there? There are 2 number of parameters in the above method, but if you are observing it, there are 3 number of parameters in the below method. So using this, I am trying to overload a method. What is the concept of overloading? Means same method name but with a different signature. Method name will be same but with a different signature is nothing but method overloading concept. Then here I am trying to, you see this is a static method. That is the reason without creating an object we can call the method by using the reference of the class. What is the name of the class? Adder. And observe this, there is a static keyword in front of these 2 methods. So by default, if any method is static, we can call that method by using the reference of the name of the class. So adder.add. So here I am passing the 2 values that I am going with 11, 11. So 11 plus 11 is 22 that I am going to get a printout. Then I am going to give 3 number of parameters, 11, 11, 11. So what is the output that we will be getting? 33. This is what the output that I will be getting. So next, one more example for a class with a different data types that you are going to with. See, observe this, here is a add method and here is also an add method. But thing that you need to observe is here 2 number of parameters, here also 2 number of parameters. Previous case where we have taken 3 number of parameters, but here we are going with 2 number of parameters but with a different data type. That means method name is same but with a different signature that we are applying it over here. So static, so these 2 methods are also of type static. So I can directly call the method by using the reference of the class. So here from using adder.add, so from 11 value is passed to A and this 11 is passed to B. So same case with this. I am passing A value as 12.3 and B value as 12.6. Right? Whenever this method is called, 11, 11 value is passed to this method, and when I am passing 12.3 and 12.6, this method is called. Based on the data type and the return type, the values are executed and you will get an output 22, 24.9. Then the other most important keyword is super keyword. With the help of super keyword, we can access the parent class members. How? We'll see a program below, then we'll get more clarity. See, observe this, here we are declaring a class with the name animal, and we are inheriting that animal class by using by extending animal class for a dog class, and we are having something called, observe this, there is a parameter. That means color variable is there, and the value that here we are assigning is white. But here if you have observed that the same thing that I am redeclaring in my child class by using the value that I am passing it here is black. Then if I am calling the print method, print color, then I am printing the color over here. Then what is going to happen? If you are using super dot color, the parent class method, so this value gets printed. But here what value gets printed is black value gets printed. Because of using super keyword, we can access the parent class data members. Similarly, we can even access the parent class member functions by using super keyword. How? We'll see an example over here. See, observe this. Animal is a class and ed is a method, and where your dog class is extending animal class, that means you are inheriting animal class over here. Then again this is a concept of overriding. This is a concept of overriding. See, same method with the same signature. Do remember, we cannot override same method within the same class. If you try to override same method within the same class, you will get a compilation error stating that we cannot override same method within the same class. But we can override a method, whatever that is declared in base class, in a derived class. So that's what we have done here. But observe this, the implementation is different from base class to a derived class. This is what base class, you are typing it over here eating, but coming to derived class you are typing with eating bread. So then below that one more method you are adding with your child class is bark method, right, and you are printing barking over here. Then observe this, here you are writing one more method name with work. So here you have used super dot eat. So you are calling the parent class method by using the super keyword. By using super keyword we can access even the parent class methods. And even super keyword is used to invoke the constructors of the parent class. How? We'll see an example, then we'll get more clarity. So here animal is a class, and this is what your constructor over here. This is a default constructor. Then again you are writing a dog class which extends animal class. So I am applying inheritance over here, and I am writing a constructor for dog class over here. But I am using a super, I am calling the parent class constructor over here. This is how we can call it, using super of. Then you are creating an object of class D. By default, whenever you are creating an object of class D, the constructor of the dog class is invoked. Within that you are writing super of. So again by using this reference, we are invoking the parent class constructor. This concept is going to work with. So then one more keyword, final keyword is there. This is a very important keyword, and this is an access modifier by using which we can change the access of a class, access of a method, or access of a variable. If you are declaring final in front of a variable, what it becomes? It becomes a constant. In Java, if you want to declare a constant, we can declare final data type variable name is equals to value. See here, observe this, I am declaring final int speed limit is equals to 90. So speed limit becomes 90. This is what the constant, how I am going to declare it with. So the next case, I am going to declare final in front of a method. What happens if you are declaring final in front of a method is, if you are declaring it, we can never override a method. See, do remember, whenever if you are declaring final in front of a method, then we can never override that particular final method. Then the last one is before a class. Before a class, if you are declaring final, that particular class will lose its inheritance property. That means we can never inherit a final class. If you are observe this, here I am declaring a final class. If I am trying to inherit, what is that? My compiler is going to give an error. The error message that I will be getting is, we can never inherit a final class. So in three places we can use final keyword: in front of a variable, in front of a method, in front of a class. If I am using in front of a variable, then what is going to happen? It becomes a constant member. In front of a method, if I am going to use final, then we can never override that particular method. What happens if you are going to write final keyword in front of a class is, it can never be inherited. And this is what I have completed. Thank you.